You did. I'm
There
in
she go.
love with a big
Hello.
girl.
Sorry, I had two phones in my hand. Hey, which
Look,
phone? How are
listen,
you?
you ain't gotta tell me. I the phone
Right,
ring. Hello. Like,
right.
yeah. So, and then the phone I'm on right here.
Yes,
But this is
I,
the newest one, so I use this one for the lives. I think the camera better. So,
yeah,
whatever.
I got you. Well, hopefully I'm in good lighting. This room that I'm in is not well lit, but hopefully it's light enough.
Yo, I am feeling that painting behind you though. That is, I
Oh,
like that. It feels jazzy.
it's a tapestry, and in my mind, this is my alter ego. Like when I look at this, the afro. Usually my hair is
Yeah.
natural pregnant sometimes, so this is like my inner self.
Okay. Okay. Ain't
Yeah.
nothing wrong with it. I
Yes.
love it. I love it. All right, so we on the vine today. We got Pleasure Johnson. Uh, so we gonna learn a little something. This is Miss Fix My Credit. She got the info on what you need to know because 2022. Listen, we ain't paying high prices no more. We don't do high financing no more. You know, we only want prime rates. So she gonna help us get there.
Right.
So before we get started, you already know what it is. We're gonna have a conversation. Kick back like you kick back, and that's where we at. So, Pleasure Johnson, who is you? Where you from? What you do? Talk to me nice. What's up?
I will. And I'm sorry, let me take my phone off. So always, that question is always like, you're like, oh, tell me about yourself. And you're like, well, where do you want me to start? But essentially, the long and short of it is I grew up in a really, really small town, very small, up in Northeast Georgia called Carnesville, which is, if you know where Athens is, where the University of Georgia is, it's up that way. So I grew up there. I was raised by a single mother. I have two younger sisters. I'm the oldest. And so the environment that we up in was one where, like back to your childhood. So me being the oldest, helping my mom as a single mom, I had a lot of responsibilities at a very young age, which probably made me aware of a lot of things that maybe most kids weren't aware of my age, and that kind of led to where I am now. But I knew probably by the time I was about in 10th grade, I knew that I had to get out of that town
Yeah.
because I, I began to realize the things that I was not necessarily being directly taught, but indirectly taught about lifestyle. People who, and I'm not generalizing for everyone, any of your audience may be on here, maybe they're from a small town, but my experience and what I realized growing up in that town was the mindset is very small and limited and complacent. I'm not saying that you have to have all these gajillions of dollars and all this stuff to be happy, but I always felt like, man, there's got to be more out there. And by the time I got to be a senior in high school, you're a little more mobile. We started coming to Atlanta. Like me and I was like, oh, okay. So in my mind, I knew I was like, well, when I graduate high school, I'm going to Atlanta. That was going to be my way to get out of that small town because I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I looked around and observed, and I didn't want to work in the chicken plant. I didn't want to work in a fast food restaurant or the
Right.
textile, So I just began to think about things that I did and didn't want for myself, and I just knew I had to get out of that town. So fast forward, by the time I was 20, I had made my way to Atlanta. I was married then. I got married when I was 20. So right before I turned 21, we had already come to Atlanta. I already had my oldest child. Um, and so that was my first opportunity to live in the city outside of that small town. I got a decent job. That's when I started, getting my feet wet in terms of, I didn't even know what I wanted to do. I just knew there was opportunity here. I still live in Atlanta. So I've been here for my oldest son is 25. I moved here when he was about 18 months old. So I'm still
Right.
here.
Right.
I began to just find my way and, take different jobs and And then that led me into a career where I was a senior level executive assistant for several large corporations over my 18-year career in corporate America. But even in there, somewhere in there, I got exposed to entrepreneurs, people who look like me, who decided they wanted to step out and do something more. And so that's when I really started to expand my mind. And then I knew probably maybe 4 years into being, 5 years maybe into being into Atlanta, probably 3. I was like, okay, I want to work for myself. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew that I felt like that was going to be my path. And so those things kind of led me to where I am now, in this place. So that's kind of who I am. Like I said, the most important thing that I am is a mommy. I have 4 children. I have older children in their 20s, and then I also have a 22-month-old. So, right.
You done match the months and the years. Just okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so on top of being a mommy, but that's a big part too. I raised my older kids building my career in corporate America, and I didn't want to miss out. I missed a lot of things with my older kids. I didn't want to have that same reality for this is my last baby, right? So I wanted to be as present for him as I can be. So that was another reason why I decided I wanted to work my way out of corporate America. And in all of that, I got divorced and finished school and restarted school. I'm also in law school. I'm in I have 1 semester left and I'll be done with law school and preparing to take the bar exam. And so who I am is a lot. That's what I always tell people. That's a very broad question for me.
Well, yeah, but I think that's the beauty, of living. I also think that's the beauty of escaping a small town. So I think in small town, because I'm from a small town, and you got what I call the fear factor. So the fear factor is do something safe the way I can survive here. So it's like, my uncle or my grandma, they might say something like, baby, get yourself a trade. They can't take that away from you. Like, man, we free as hell. Like, I ain't got to kind of worry about, and I understand where you from. My grandma's from, like, so my people from Athens.
Okay.
My people from Georgia like that. And I used to tell my grandmother, like, man, like, it ain't like that. Cause she would say stuff like, now you stay away from those white women, like grandma. I mean, it is what it is, but it's like, you have this fear factor where you feel like, well, let me do something safe. But, once you get out of that small town mind state, you like, well, let me do something to put me in a position I can do what I want to do, because I don't want to do safe. I'll do safe when I'm older. But for right now, let's take some risks. Let's make some money. However that looks to an individual. And like even me myself, like, I was very blessed, like yourself, to run into an entrepreneur who was just like, what kind of house you got? And I said, oh man, I don't have a house. And I used to have a mouthful of golds, jewelry, like all these rings. And he said, you talk, and he said something like, oh, you talk intelligent, but I see you putting on a show or something, you little smooth brother. And he was saying like, okay, like, how much a grill costs, and I gave him, I'm giving him all these numbers. Right. He says, man, that's a down payment and a year's worth of mortgage. But you renting, huh?
Right.
And I was like, ain't no difference, because I didn't understand credit, I didn't understand ownership.
That's
so
right.
A lot of times the school, well, I don't know, and I have kids in school, and it's the same. The curriculum does not teach you this.
It doesn't.
And a lot of times the parents do not have the information to teach you, so you kind of fall right back into that mindset.
Correct.
So
that's what it goes. And I look at even me, when I was 23 years old, I filed bankruptcy. 20 years old, and already had ruined my credit to the point where I had to file bankruptcy. And I think about that, and I'm like, man, it's just, I had no clue. Like, I just thought, you pay your bills on time. If you pay it late, it doesn't matter as long as you pay it. I literally, I had no clue. I had zero education on credit. Just was out here just doing what I was doing, and I had to file bankruptcy because I just had racked up so much credit card debt and just, so, but even in doing that, my credit never became truly important to me until I got divorced and went and tried to get an apartment
I'm in love
for
with
me
a
and my
big
kids
girl.
and couldn't.
She my diamond in the dark world. When they ask, boo, I choose you. Cause she do everything she posed to. I'm in love with a big girl.